Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the First Unitarian Society of Milwaukee's online worship service. I'm the Reverend Dina McFeeters, and I'm honored to serve as Associate Minister here. We welcome people of all genders, sexualities, ages, races, ethnicities, histories, and bodies. We welcome your mind, your heart, and your spirit. We welcome all that you are carrying with you today and all that your heart longs to set down. We'd like to pay a special welcome to guests joining us today. If you're visiting for the first time or joining us from afar, why don't you say hello in the chat and tell us where you are joining us from. I welcome you all to our worship service by inviting you to repeat our mission after me. We gather to nurture the spirit, engage the mind, and inspire action. These opening words are written by Penny Hackett Evans. Each of us brings a separate truth here. We bring the truth of our own life, our own story. We don't come as empty vessels, but as full people, each with our own story and our own truth. We seek to add our truths. We seek to add to our truths, and we seek to add to our stories. Together, we are rich with truth, rich with experience. All manner of people come, needy, joyful, frightened, anxious, bored. We all bring our truth with us. May we all recognize the truth and the story in other lives than our own. May we hear and honor the truths that we bring. Together, we have truths. Together, we have a story. Together, we are a community. Let's return to our beloved sanctuary for the lighting of the flaming chalice, a symbol of Unitarian Universalism.
Good morning. I'm Lynn Jacoby, the membership coordinator of First Unitarian Society of Milwaukee. And this morning I have the pleasure and the honor of welcoming to our congregation a group of people who just completed our Journey to Membership class this past Wednesday and made a commitment to become members of our congregation. Deborah, Wanda, Becca, Tristan, Jean, Tim, Kelly, and Annie. Welcome. I like to say that First Church is a co-created community because it's true, we are. And who we are now was created by the members past and present, and who we will become, you, our newest members, will help to shape. Some of you have already begun to share your gifts here in small groups and social justice teams. Thank you. And welcome formally to this community. It's a community where seekers have been coming for over 175 years to practice connection and love. I welcome you also to a faith that says our answers will vary, but our support of each other's search for truth and meaning is valuable. Welcome you to a congregation that believes working towards dignity and justice for all is part of practicing our values and living our faith. And I welcome you to a community that sees all life as interconnected and also interdependent. New members, we bid you welcome. And I ask you now to join me from your homes or from wherever you are watching to come into covenant with this congregation, this larger congregation, by repeating these words after me. We enter this congregation with hope and possibility in our hearts and pledge to participate in and support the ministries of this church. We covenant to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. We seek your welcome as we join you in this faith. First Church congregation, before you respond to this covenant, our members introduce themselves on Wednesday night, and we also ask them to say a little bit of their own story that led them to our community. Here is what they shared.
My name is Wanda Herr, and I'm a returning Unitarian Universalist. I have been living in Madison, and I belong to the church there, and moved to Seattle, and I came back to Milwaukee about 3 years ago, and so here I am. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Becca Donaldson, she, hers. I live in Wauwatosa, also a boomerang, and I am very excited to join First Unitarian. I feel like I'm someone that has like a pretty natural light and fire inside of me, and sometimes that gets pretty difficult to keep going in all of the situations that we have going on in the world and professionally and in our personal lives with our family. So it seems like a really wonderful time for me in my life to make that commitment to the Unitarian Universalist faith officially. So in honor of that.
Hi, I'm Annie Dennison, and I have sisters that are involved with the Unitarian faith in Pittsburgh. And so I understood what the faith was about. And it's a really good fit for me. And I'm really excited to be part of the church. Very excited.
Hi, I'm Deborah Conta, and tomorrow is my 74th birthday. And I said to myself, it's now or never. The path ahead is a lot shorter than the road behind me. And I'm anxious to contribute to and draw from a community of involved, thoughtful people. Here's my little candle.
And I to be part of First Church because to me, this building community and being part, having people be part of your life to help you and help each other is just such an enriching thing. And I'm looking forward to when the church opens.
Hi, I am Katie Sorg. This is my fiance, AJ. And as I have, continued my spiritual journey, especially over the last year, I was looking for a community of like-minded humanists to contribute to. So that's why I'm here.
Hello, my name is Tristan Gross. I have always felt like I needed a place to belong, where beliefs weren't only theoretical, but impacted the way we lived our life and treated people. And so I am excited to join a community of folks who believe in not just talking about how to be in the world, but allowing that to influence how we treat one another and how we act.
Hello, everyone. My name is Tim Ottman, and my wife, Stephanie Stearns, is a member of First Church, and I'm very excited to join the membership at First Church to explore our spiritual journey as a family together with our daughter, Natalie, and to explore this journey with the broader family at First Church. Thank you.
My name is Kelly McGraw, and I came to First Church looking for community, moving to a new city.
It is always a joyful day when we welcome new members into First Church. Congregation, wherever you are, will you rise in body or in spirit at this moment and respond to our new members with the covenantal welcome by repeating these words after me? I'll give you just a moment to get yourselves in a position to honor our new members. All right, here we go. We welcome you as once we were welcomed ourselves. We bid you welcome who come with weary spirit seeking rest. We bid you welcome who come with hope in your heart. We bid you welcome who are seekers of a new faith. We bid you welcome who enter this community as a homecoming, who find in this people a family. Let's give our new members a round of applause. And please do greet them, as I see some folks are doing, in the chat. Just type a nice brief message in the chat to welcome our new members. New members, it's just been great to meet you over the Journey to Membership series. I look forward to getting to know you better. Welcome, 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 and thank you for sharing just a little bit of your story with us today. Dear ones, because of the unprecedented times in which we are living and the ways that our lives are touched by the loss and grief of this global coronavirus pandemic, we are continuing our pandemic practice of lighting the COVID candle for any of our church members who have had a loved one die during this period, either from COVID or another cause. If you have had a loved one die from coronavirus or another cause during this time and would like the COVID candle lit for them during Sunday worship, please contact one of the ministers. Dale Skaggs' cousin, Gerald Longenbaugh, died Tuesday, April 27th, in Indianapolis, Indiana, just a few weeks after a diagnosis of pancreatic cancer. He was 84 years old. So today, we light our candle in honor of Gerald Longenbaugh. As we enter into a time of spoken meditation, followed by silence, followed by singing Spirit of Life, I invite you to find a way wherever you are to ground and center yourself. Perhaps you can put your feet on the floor, maybe find a way to lift your spine so you can breathe deeply. And let your hands come to a resting place. This meditation is adapted from Kathleen McTeague. Here, in the refuge of this Sabbath time, we turn our busy minds toward silence and our full hearts toward one another. We move together through the mysteries, the bright surprise of birth, and the shadowed questions of death. In our slow walk between the two, we will be wounded, and we will be showered with grace, amazing, unending. Even in our sorrows, we feel our lives cradled in holiness we cannot comprehend. And though we each live within a vast loneliness, the promise we offer in community is that we are not alone. In this space of silence and celebration, solemnity and music, we make a sanctuary and name our home.
Good morning. My name is Amy Wilborn, and I am delighted to be your worship associate today. Please remember to stop by coffee hour after the service and say hello. I'm sure many of you remember Carla Ernst, a First Church member with a larger-than-life personality who passed away suddenly 2 years ago. Carla loved to tell a good story. Her stories sometimes resembled tall tales and were always interesting, lively, and full of self-deprecating humor. Carla and I met in a Journey to Membership class 10 years ago and went on to be in the chalice circles and theme circles together. We also became good friends. I listened to Carla's stories over the years, and while the stories she told in public provided hints of who Carla was, the jazz lover, clarinet player, communications specialist, writer, parent, they didn't tell the full story of who Carla was. Looking back now, I realize that Carla understood something. She understood that a story is an invitation, that it's a summons to get to know someone. A story says to the receiving person, "See me." Carla's stories disarmed people. They disarmed me. They allowed me to see past my assumptions and prejudices and to love her. This was her gift. Carla was transgender and open about it, often teaching others about her identity. Learning about her life story over the years of our friendship and witnessing Carla's way of being with people had a profound impact on me. Once, when I was with Carla up north where her family had a cottage, I watched her play clarinet in the Wapaka Community Band. Wapaka is a small town, and I am sure Carla may have been the first transgender person many of them had ever encountered. I watched Carla use her humorous banter and generous heart to enchant her bandmates. She not only was one of the band, she was clearly accepted and loved. This in a town where a gas station owner once warned Carla that he kept a gun handy for people like her. Carla wrote a book called Life Without Pockets, where she tells the story of her gender transition. I read her book at a time in my life when I was in my own transition from alcohol abuse to sobriety. Carla's book gently held me, made me laugh, and set an example for finding an authentic life when I really needed it. She allowed me a look inside the life of a person who spent the majority of her life trying to be someone other than who she really was, trying to be who the world told her she should be. In one of the opening passages of the book, Carla explains, "My experience, often like that of others like me, is about the challenge of trying to be someone you're not, while at the same time becoming who you are." I could identify with this so much. I did not face nearly the amount of dissonance, pain, and discrimination that Carla sometimes did, but I was also taking a transformational step into a new life of sobriety where I would shed the expectations of others and discover my authentic self. Carla inspired me. She wrote about the painful things she experienced because of who she was and the longing for who she wanted to be. She made the choice to be her authentic self, despite the obstacles she knew that she would face. Obstacles like losing friends, work, family, identity, being harassed, and even physically attacked. Her story opened my eyes to the experiences of transgender folks, and I am forever changed by it. I went from being a witness and ally to an advocate with LGBTQ people. I went from sitting on the sidelines to being willing to put my feet in the street. Carla provided a role model for how to be courageous, to persevere, to laugh in the face of challenges, and best of all, to be myself. I feel you, Carla, walking beside me on my journey now, through a different set of hard times. Thank you for sharing your personal story, and through that, inviting me to see you, and through seeing you, to see others in a more complex and compassionate way. I can still hear your voice saying to me, "I want to be like Amy Wilborn when I grow up." That tall tale always made me smile.
Thank you for that lovely music. In an essay about the power of storytelling and story sharing in women's lives in Mediterranean culture, Adriana P. Cavina wrote, "The evening shadows were longer now. The women knew that soon the winds of winter would sweep away their time together. Families would gather around the fireplace at night, but there would be no more time for chattering with neighbors sitting outside the steps of each house along the narrow village street. Life was going along in cycles, as grandmothers used to tell the children. Life was going along in cycles. As soon as spring would warm up into summer, La Villa would resume. In the evening, from the open kitchen window, one woman would call to another. Families would bring chairs into the street and keep vigil together, enjoying the cool of the evening and chatting away the facts of the day. Men would gather in circles of men, and women would form circles of women. Children would play together not far away. Then, as the nights would again grow too cool for a warm sweater to brush off the shiver, La Villa would stop, and the evening chat would continue only among the generations of the same family around the supper table. This was the life of the Italian country town on the slopes of Montamiata in Tuscany when I was growing up, Cavina continues. La Villa, the village, was a time of gathering, a time for discussion, a time for sharing. Newspapers or television were still a rare commodity. Clearly, La Villa was the best time of the day, as grandmothers used to say. Often women would sing at those gatherings. Arias and traditional songs would fill the evening sky, and laughter too. At times, the song would be softer and more sober, as a memory of a departed loved one or an individual crisis would come to the center of the conversation. One woman would sing in the background, like the choir of classical Greek tragedy. Other women would chime in and out of the tune or call for a different song. Men were busy chatting in their circle about the events of the day, smoking pipes and marking the talk with big gestures and loud laughter. Only women would lift their voice to sing a story. La Villa was a local cultural tradition. I witnessed its slow disappearance from the Italian life scene as individual and communal life took on a new pace with the appearance of shopping malls and media screens. With the passing of La Villa, something else died, the demise of which I realize today still has universal significance. With La Villa, a habit of talking, a linguistic exchange disappeared too, she concludes. Hearing about the tradition of La Villa makes me wonder anew, where, how, and with whom do we share our personal stories beyond social media? And how does hearing another's personal story change us? When I was a young adult, I had a good friend who was twice my age. As we became friends, we shared bits and pieces of our life stories. One day, she told me the story of her divorce. She needed to leave her marriage because she gradually realized she had married the brother of the woman she was in love with. I was surprised. Didn't you know? I asked. Didn't you know who you were really in love with before you got married? No. She didn't know at the time because of the culture of silence and the culture of expectations she grew up with. In her generation, she couldn't choose a woman as a life partner. She didn't even know that was an option because she hadn't heard anyone's personal story of falling in love with another woman. Those stories weren't told in her generation. Maya Angelou, African-American poet and author, who wrote I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings, the first of a series of her autobiography, said, "There is no greater agony than bearing an untold story inside you." And yet, as Brene Brown reminds us, we should take care who we tell our personal stories to. We should choose someone who has earned our trust. In an essay called "We Hold Our Stories in Blankets, Pastoral Care with American Indian Women," Michelle Oberweis Lecoq and Carol Lakota Easton write, in preparation for a baby's birth, Native American women gather and create a blanket as a gift for the newborn. Each strand of pure wool, each thread, and each piece of cloth are tenderly stitched together to make the blanket just right. The blanket will provide the infant with warmth and comfort for the journey ahead. When a Native American couple is married, the wrapping of the couple in a new Pendleton blanket represents the unity of their relationship. It symbolizes that they will live under one roof, under one blanket holding them together, which gives security and well-being. At the time of death, a blanket is wrapped around a person as a way to honor the individual, which will ease their journey as they cross over to be with the Creator. The blanket nurtures, protects, and provides comforting strength during each aspect of a person's journey. In the process of counseling Native American women, we have experienced the telling of stories as the gentle unfolding of blankets. We have been blessed by the gifts of these stories and have been honored to share the pain and the grief that the blankets have concealed in that process that happens when the silence is broken and the stories are told. According to the 2000 US Census report, the poverty rate for Native American people is 3 times higher than any other ethnic racial group in the United States. The lifespan of Native American women is 5 years less than US women of all racial ethnic groups. Native American women are 7 times more likely to be victims of domestic violence and rape than any other racial ethnic women in the United States. 7 times more likely. Behavioral health illnesses have an impact on 21% of the American Indian population, including post-colonial stress disorder, a community-wide PTSD related to the collective historic trauma due to loss of place and culture. Understanding systemic grief is important to understand the impact on individuals. The connection to a Native person's family history is rooted to their tribal history and to the impact of forced relocation from their ancestors' land. One model of healing that has been found useful is narrative medicine. Like the many threads that make up a blanket, narrative medicine is the weaving together of the history of a woman's family, her tribe and her nation, her belief system and worldview, her spirituality, her connectedness to the land, her view of healing and health, and her understanding of her future story. In a novel by Diane Wilson called The Seed Keeper, Rosalie Ironwing returns to the home from which she was forcibly taken as a child on Dakota land in Minnesota, and tries to find the thread back to her family. She is a survivor. She is resilient. And she has questions. She was trying to find the untold stories of her family so she can know who she is and write the next chapter of her own life story. The novel begins, "I opened the door that morning and the world seemed to right itself, as if all those years had meant nothing but waiting for that one moment. When my great aunt, Darlene Killsdeer, used to tell this story, she was unsure if she had dreamed it. In a voice roughened from years of smoke and sweetened by cherry throat lozenges, she would tell me, Rosalie, you walked in as if you had only stepped out for cigarettes at the corner store, as if all our lives we had lived next door to each other and had gone to powwows together and traveled home in a secondhand ocean blue Pontiac with the driver's door wired shut with a bent coat hanger. As if I were there at the birth of your boy, close enough to cut the umbilical cord and to bury the placenta in the garden. The garden. What did you think when you walked into my small room? One side, a pharmacy of pills stacked near an old woman's recliner. The other side, by my window, a garden made of buckets and cans packed with precious soil I carried from the city's rose garden. I went at night, just after dusk, and filled my bucket nearly to the top, allowing a bit of room to spill, to lose a precious inch on the bus ride home when the Wasichu would glare as if no one wanted to sit too close to the crazy Indian with her heavy pail. In each container, I placed a single seed after wetting it first in my mouth. that wakes it, you see, tells the seed that the sleeping time is done. People told me it couldn't be done. No, they said it shouldn't be done. Not on the third floor of an apartment building for elders. Think of the mess. Think of the inconvenience. Think of the strangeness of it. I could only shrug my shoulders, thinking of their strangeness in not seeing the absolute necessity for what I was doing. See that corn there? Have you ever seen anything grow so straight and tall? You seemed surprised when you came in, but your call caught me by surprise too. After nearly 30 years, I didn't expect to ever see you again. That's why I started the garden. All those seeds in my closet, all that's left of my family, they had to be planted or they'd die just like us. I showed the corn to you and your grown-up son. You're not so much of a girl anymore, except to me. You were but 12 when your father had his heart attack and they took you. Never mind that you had family right here. I made phone calls and filled out their paperwork. At night, I walked the city hoping I might see you playing in a yard so I could sleep, knowing you were alive and well. Finally, I had to wait for you to find me. It was for you I started growing these plants with the hope that they could help me. They have their own way of talking, you know. It's not the same here in my apartment as in a garden, where they share stories through their roots, through the soil, talking with their leaves and their tassels, sending love pollen on the wind. But it was something I could do. I could ask the plants for their help. Year after year, we kept this vigil. And then this morning, you walked through my door when I had almost given up. You walked in a stranger to me. Your eyes hid from mine. You could not bear to know the truth. Not yet. I couldn't breathe with you in the room. All of us starved for the same thing all these years. I offered to let you water the corn. You said no. I offered again, waving my hand at the plants. You held my watering can with fingers that trembled. A few drops of water. Then you turned to me as if asking, was that enough? Did I do it right? I couldn't speak. I could only nod. Yes, yes, it was just right. It was all we could give to each other that first day. It was enough. You left with a promise to come back. I'm not going to tell you what happens in the novel, no need for a spoiler alert. But I recommend that you read The Seed Keeper by Diane Wilson and follow the story of Rosalie Ironwing, her ancestors, and her descendant. By hearing personal stories, even through fiction, we come closer to understanding how massive historic trauma affects individuals as it reverberates through family lineage. And we learn how a person can eventually find their song line and sing it in a new way. Rosalie didn't find her song line by herself. She didn't do it alone. She found her song line through her dreams, memories, seeds, family, friends, and her Dakota community. Sharing our personal stories is something we do in community at First Church through our worship associate stories, theme circles, social justice teams, and check-in at the beginning of religious education classes and committee meetings, among other places. Telling our personal stories helps us become our authentic selves. And when we share our stories in faith and trust, we forge authentic connections. Adriana Cavina wrote, "Paradoxically, the uniqueness of my story is highlighted and affirmed when I find the similarity of that story with other people's stories. My own story is my own, unique and unrepeatable, yet I find its value affirmed when I see it reflected in similar stories and similar themes, like the thread of blue color that appears brighter when woven together with other shades of blue." The Via, taking place in villages around the Mediterranean shores, reminds us that storytelling and story sharing is at the core of the polis, communal society based on democracy and equality. We need to speak our truth, sing our individual songs, in order for a multiple, multi-tone, multi-voice choir to lift up a genuine hymn of praise in one voice to the one Creator. Dear ones, I'll leave you with a statement of faith and a question. Stories are our immortality. They are how we live on. What stories do you need to plant in the next generation so you don't disappear? How will you pass on your song line?
My life flows on in endless song above earth's lamentation. I hear the real, the far-off hymn that hails a new creation. Through all the tumult and the strife, I hear the music ringing. It sounds an echo in my soul. How can I keep from singing? What though the tempest round me roars, I know the truth that liveth. What though the darkness round me grows, songs in the night it giveth. No storm could shake my inmost heart, while to the rock I'm clinging. Since love prevails in heaven and earth, how can I keep from singing? When tyrants tremble as they hear the bells of freedom ringing, when friends rejoice both far and near, how can I keep from singing? To prison cell and dungeon I keep from singing.
That was fun to sing that hymn again. Thank you, Tristan. And thank you all so much for your generosity. Pledges are the core of our church's spiritual practice of generosity. And we are also grateful for additional gifts to support our ministry. You can see ways to give on your screen right now. You can support our ministry by texting 73256 with the message "Give to you," or by giving on our website. For those of you appreciating our online ministry, your gifts help us to continue to provide this ministry. We also share the plate with an organization each month. Milwaukee Youth Services Program is our May Share the Plate recipient, which was chosen by the children in our religious education program. The Milwaukee Youth Services Program works with youth who are involved or at risk of becoming involved in the juvenile justice system. The program provides assistance with their community service and restitution coordination, and also operates 2 short-term youth shelters. Currently, the young men in the Rashid House Boys Shelter are raising money for the research and painting of a mural inside the shelter, inspired by the beautiful murals that have been painted all over Milwaukee during the global pandemic and the movement for racial justice in 2020 and beyond. You can go to their website and give specifically to the mural project, or more generally to Milwaukee Youth Services Program with the note, "Share the Plate from FUSM." You can see all these options on your screen now, and they will live on in the YouTube comments section of this video after worship is over. Thank you so much for giving right now or when you come back later. Your support keeps us and our community partners going. Thank you. Some of you might recognize these closing words by Derek Walcott. The time will come when, with elation, you will greet yourself arriving at your own door, in your own mirror, and each will smile at the other's welcome and say, "Sit here, eat." You will love again the stranger who was yourself. Give wine, give bread, give back your heart to itself, to the stranger who has loved you all your life, whom you ignored for another, who knows you by heart. Take down the love letters from the bookshelf, the photographs, the desperate notes. Peel your own image from the mirror. Sit. Feast on your life. May it be so.
We are going, heaven knows where we are going. We know within, and we will get there. Heaven knows how we will get there, but we know we will. Whoa, yeah, yeah. Whoa, yeah, yeah. Whoa, yeah, yeah. Whoa, yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. We are oh yeah.